All right, young scholars, today we are going to go through quickly the two slide decks that I have posted up here on Blackboard. And then you also see that I have three different projects we're going to look at today. The BMI calculator and the mortgage loan interest we're going to look at to show you that there may be instances where you need to create, as you saw last week, two or more than two classes in order to run your project. Then we're going to work with concert tickets and modify that a little bit to see how we can change or how the changes occur when you modify the strings file. So while I'm going through the two slide decks here and focusing on specifics on that, go ahead and download these three zip folders and extract them so that when we go to open them in Android Studio, we have no issues. So again, go ahead and download BMI calculator, mortgage loan interest, and concert tickets zip folder, and then extract them all so that you have the specific folders like so. So when you're building your app, you want to have an app that's essentially responsive. The more responsive or interactive an app is, the more likely people will download it and use it frequently. So a lot of you say that you play games on your phone. Obviously, if the game is interactive and you'll enjoy playing it, it's easy to navigate, you're more likely to come back and play it. If it's not responsive or interactive, you might get bored with it pretty quickly. And even though it may still be downloaded on your phone, you may not open it or bother playing with it. You'll also want to consider possible permissions. So obviously, for the point of this course, you're just going to create a basic app with your group members and talk about it that last week of classes with a presentation. So obviously, your permissions may not necessarily be set to restrict other people from accessing certain parts of the code, because you may or may not be publishing this to the Google Play Store. But ideally, permissions are set to allow user to use the app, but may restrict certain actions. So for example, you download an app on your phone, let's say Instagram, for example. The permissions are set to where you have to create a username and password in order to log in. You can't get into somebody else's account without their password and username. Somebody else can't post for you, as an example, in Instagram. They can tag you, but they can't post something to your display. Only you can. So think of permissions in that vein. What do you want the user to be able to do or accomplish? So as you saw earlier in this semester, the tween activity file allows us to create an animation, usually requiring an on-click. You'll remember we had the flower. We clicked on it and it spun around. That was using a tween file, which you'll recall from that, I believe it was called tween activity _ motion or something like that, .xml. When you're setting up a tweeted file, you'll have a start state. In that instance, it was the starting picture. Then a uniform transition type. In that instance, it had like a circle, clockwise motion, and the number of times to repeat the motion. I believe it just went through once over the course of 30 seconds, but you could set it up to where it's done multiple times, 40 times, 50 times, whatever specific time you would like to set it to. Now, this ties back to accessibility, though. A big issue with certain things like this, individuals with epilepsy, you may not want to have it spin as quickly as possible to avoid any potential issues, like causing a seizure. So the point of using tweet effects, think of the effects or transitions you could create with Microsoft PowerPoint. Do you want to be able to rotate something? Do you want to be able to make something bigger? Do you want to be able to have text flashing over the course of the screen? Those are the types of things that you would use using effects or transitions with Microsoft PowerPoint would be done within the tween activity file that you create with your app, like you saw with the flower example earlier in the semester. So the emulator screen may be changed from portrait to landscape as needed, which is pretty common for video apps. You turn your phone this way to watch your YouTube videos. It usually has the display a little different. It looks better. You might be able to see all of the picture. Whereas if you have it straight, it's just a little box in the center. You turn it, it displays everywhere. So the same thing applies with your apps. You'd be able to switch between the different views. Landscape is across. Portrait is up and down. On a Mac, you would change using function, the FN button, plus the control button, plus F12 or 7 on the keyboard, as long as your number lock is off. On a Mac, it's much easier. Function key, control key, F12. And like I said, this is common with video apps where when you have it landscape view like this, it takes up the entire screen. You can see the entire picture. All right, so as I said, we're going to go ahead and look at 3 different projects today. So make sure you've downloaded BMI calculator, mortgage loan interest, and concert tickets. And then extract them so that you have individual folders for each of them. So when you download, you right-click, extract all, and you will get your individualized folder. So first, I'm going to start with the mortgage loan interest file. So you go ahead and open and go through your files and find where you have downloaded it. In my case, it's in my downloads files. As always, it's going to take a few minutes to build and import everything into Android Studio. Once it has done so, you'll notice that there are two main files within the Java folder: interest and main activity. This is what I want to show you with respect to your different apps that you may be possibly thinking of building, is that your apps can be structured the same way as you've seen Java programming in the past, where you might have two separate classes, three separate classes, whatever it may be, in order to properly compile and run your program. So you notice here in the main activity class, we're creating a float called decimal payment, an integer, int years, and int principal. And we are modifying these possibilities based on the user input. So for decimal payment, we're getting whatever the user inputs. For integer years, we're getting whatever the user input is. For the principal, we're getting whatever the user input is. Then within the interest.java class, we're doing all of these computations. However, we're creating some restrictions here. For the number of years for our payment, we're only allowing the possibilities of 30, 20, or 10. Otherwise, we display the user an error message, must enter 10, 20, or 30 years. So first, if we go ahead and file sync project with Gradle files, all of these potential errors and warnings we have here should disappear. You'll notice all of those errors now disappeared once we synced our file. Then we can go ahead and run our app. And hopefully it'll run for us. As it's building below, eventually it'll pop up with our window, which allows us to input our number of years, our principal, etc. So somebody give me a monthly payment to put in here. Nobody?
2,500.
Okay, 2,500. So you can either type it in or use the faux keyboard to type. How many years do we want to have our mortgage for? 10, 20,
Usually
or
30
30?
years, right?
The most common is usually 30 years. Yep. And then how much does our house cost? What's the principal?
Maybe 300,000.
Okay, 300,000. So now we compute what the interest is. What's our total cost going to be paying $2,500 a month over 30 years towards a $300,000 house? When you click on compute interest, we're going to pay a total interest of 600,000. So what that basically means is you're paying double what the actual house is. That's why if individuals have, let's say, a $2,500 a month mortgage, they'll pay, let's say, $4,000 toward it. This way, they are able to pay off the cost of their house much quicker and avoid the potential of paying way too much on their house. So if we run the app again, if we now say we're going to pay 5,000 over 30 years on a $300,000 house, the cost should be less when we compute the interest. But it is. It looks like it's just multiplying the 30 years by whatever amounts we put in for our payment. Yep. Okay. So it's taking whatever our payment is times the number of months and then just subtracting the initial principal. Now, the if statements are set up, like I said, because 10, 20, and 30-year mortgages are the most common options available when you're paying for mortgages. But the point is to just show how you might need two classes specific to solve one issue. But as you've seen in the past, usually these will import from one another. However, in these instances, they are not. They are just relying on that package mortgage loan interest that they're created within. So interest in main activity. So next, I'm going to open the BMI calculator. We'll have the same kind of setup where it'll take a couple minutes to load. It may show us specific errors that are possible or warnings here at the top that we will resolve using the build Gradle. So once our app is opened, you'll notice again that there are two different Java classes here set up to create our class. So in the main activity, we're asking the user to input their height and weight. Within the BMI class, we're going to calculate their BMI using those inputs, which is the number of pounds times 703 divided by the inches squared. So we go ahead and file sync project with Gradle files to make sure that there's no potential errors. Then we'll run our app and wait for it to load. And our loading screen allows us to put in our weight in pounds and our height in inches. You'll notice that we have this random image here within our res drawable folder. We have that image declared as BMI. We then have a second image set up, and you see them within the activity files within layout. So in the BMI, that BMI image is utilized. That second image, but this main screen that we have open utilizes that first image. So when you're looking through the activity files within the layout page or the layout folder, you should be able to determine which screen is which based on what it has viewing there. So we know the activity main is this first screen because we have height and images, or height and inches rather. We have that first BMI image. We also have weight in pounds. But then that second screen is going to give us a different image as well as our BMI calc. This header here. So our weight in pounds, let's say, is 175. Your height in inches, you'll take your number of feet, multiply it by 12. So if somebody was 5'8", it would be 5 times 12 plus 8. I'll make it just simple for this example. Somebody's 6 foot tall, they're 72 inches. 12 inches in a foot, 12 times 6. So then we compute our BMI. And you'll notice on the secondary screen, we have that second picture as set up within activity BMI. And you'll notice it uses this calculation within the BMI Java class to display out what our body mass index is. You'll notice within that code, it says 10th.format BMI, which displays only the 10th decimal place. To avoid a situation like pi, where you might have quite a bit of decimal places associated with. So when you're creating your group project app, if you're going to have more than one screen, you have to set each of them within the layout folder. More often than not, you'll just see one page set up, such as activity_main.xml. But you might want to create a second one, which is perfectly fine within your layout folder. So last but not least, we're going to open concert tickets. And that's what I want us to work on today and edit a little bit to reflect, well, more active singers. We'll modify our strings so that our display is more relative. So you'll notice when we import concert tickets that we've established that every concert ticket is going to be $89.99. We're going to ask the user how many tickets they're going to have. We're going to allow them to choose from a couple options of bands to go see. And this double total cost is our price times the number of tickets, as you see below here. Our number of tickets is what we're going to get from the user. Our group choice is, as I mentioned, a list of specific singers or groups within our strings.xml folder. Now, once the user inputs the number of tickets and selects the band, it will display cost for whatever their choice is, and then that total cost. That cost per ticket times the number of tickets. So to see this, we'll do File Sync Project. Then we'll go ahead and run our app. And you'll notice when we run our app, it says ticket vault, number of tickets, find the cost. All of that is set within our layout activity main. So that ticket vault is our header. The number of tickets is what we're looking to display. Select group is our drop-down list here. We have no filter, Fresh Haven, and Pine Mears, I believe that says. Then the find the cost button will compute. And then last but not least, concert image. We just have a random image there from drawable concert.png. So it doesn't really matter which of the options we choose because all of the prices are $89.99. So if we go ahead and select, we have 6 tickets we're going to purchase. Then we click find the cost. It tells us cost for whatever band we chose is however many tickets you put in times $89.99. So in this instance, it's $539.94. So what I want us to do is open up the strings.xml file under values. And we're going to make this a little more up to date. So instead of ticket vault, what would more describe what we're doing here? Maybe a ticket purchase window? I think that more appropriately defines what we're doing here. And maybe even just purchase. Concert image we leave alone because that is referring to our concert.png. What might we want to say instead of find the cost for our button? Purchase price?
Or ticket price.
Okay, ticket price. How about 3 band names that actually somebody's heard of? Then our array list item, what could the first band be?
Vacations? No.
Vacations?
Yeah.
Okay, like that. Maybe we do Taylor Swift. She's been in the news quite a bit recently. Now, what's a last possible band name or singer? Let's say Billy Joel. So now with these changes, we have to go in and sync. Then we go in and build our app again or run our app again. We see these changes. Purchase window, number of tickets we have from the drop down. Let's make this a little bigger so everybody can see. Vacations, Taylor Swift, Billy Joel. So let's say Billy Joel. We type in the number of tickets, or you can use the faux keyboard. Let's say 5. We then calculate ticket price. Cost for Billy Joel is $449.95. If we wanted to change the price of the tickets, we'd have to go into our main activity folder. And change that $89.99. If we wanted to change this image based on our different options, we could do that. So for example, in our string, we have vacations, Taylor Swift, Billy Joel. We might set up an image where we had a picture of the vacations, picture of Taylor Swift, picture of Billy Joel. So if you wanted to go in and set this differently, you would have to modify your price within the main activity. You could also set it up to where each of these possibilities had a different price, but that is a little beyond what I wanted to get into today. So if we went back and changed our display again, instead of purchase window, maybe we just call this ticket master. Instead of the entire text number of tickets, maybe we just say hashtag or the number sign of tickets. Maybe instead of ticket price, we say ticket cost. Or ticket total cost. And then maybe we change our band names again. And maybe we say Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift. Let's change to The Weekend, maybe. And then Billy Joel, maybe to let's just say Michael Jackson. Even though obviously that's not possible. So we sync again and we run our app again. And everything we changed within the strings should now show up in our changed app. So now Ticketmaster instead of ticket purchase, the number sign of tickets instead of number of tickets, our drop down, Bruno Mars, The Weekend, Michael Jackson, and ticket total cost instead of just ticket purchase. So it does the same thing. We're going to do 9 tickets for Bruno Mars. Cost for Bruno Mars is $809.91, which just that $89.99 times nothing. But what would we do if we wanted to add more options to our group?
Put more items.
Yep. We would do an open item tag, and then it auto populates the close for it. And we would just add more options. So we could go ahead and add back those 3 that we had before. If we go ahead and file sync again, and run our app, it should now give us all 6 of those options. And within the dropdown, it now gives us all of those options. Let's say we select the vacations. You'll notice within the display screen that how we have our text set up is exactly how it shows up on the view. So I had Ticketmaster with no space. That's exactly how it shows up. When you're using these emulators, you often want to have your text as small as possible. So here I have ticket total cost. It's on 2 lines. If I just had total cost, it would just be 1 smaller button. The more options you put within a dropdown, obviously the more space is going to show up or be required within your emulator. So if we call this, instead of concert tickets,
Does the scroll option work on the if you have too much?
ticket purchase, what was that?
I said, does the scroll option work if you have too much? Like, can you scroll on the emulator?
If we have a scroll set up, yes.
Okay.
So for right now, our dropdown is just 6. If we had, let's say, 25, you might be able to scroll through the entire list if we had a scroll set up. So here I changed the app name from concert tickets to ticket purchase. So instead of Ticketmaster, I'll just claim this as tickets. Let's add in let's say 6 more of our items to see if it will allow us to scroll or if we would need to build a scroll for this. So let's say Bruce Springsteen, the Rolling Stones, Britney Spears, New Kids on the Block, Puff Daddy, Jason Aldean, and let's say Rick Astley. So we go ahead and sync that again. And run our app. And we still don't have enough, but the idea is once the list would get over the size of the emulator screen, there will be, or there should be, the option to scroll through the list. But you'll notice we still have a little bit of room within our list options. So this is why, like I said, when you're creating your app for your group project, that you're more than welcome to use any resources available online. That's why I pointed out how you can import something from GitHub. And you might be able to go through and edit different options within the code. In this example, you could change the price of the tickets. You might even be able to set prices for each of your different options. When we first started, we only had 3 possible choices. You could go ahead and add in different aspects within the array, as long as your array is always referenced back to where it needs to go. So in this example, group choice, matches with our string array called TV group. TV results, the number of tickets, ask you, the user, how many tickets? Then it multiplies that by this cost per ticket, which we have set as $89.99. Then we have set format to currency with commas where we need them to be. So again, you might be able to set the cost for each of the individual concerts, but as I mentioned, that's a little more complicated than what I wanted to get into today. But your strings can be modified to demonstrate what is necessary in your layout screen. So you'll notice in this example, we only had that one layout screen. So once you press that button to get the cost of tickets, it keeps everything there and just shows you the cost of the tickets, just as we have it set up here. Result.set text, cost for whatever band you chose is whatever that number of tickets times 89.99 is. And again, as I showed you in previous instances, if you wanted to change that concert picture, you would have to go in to the res drawable folder and put whatever your new image might be. But then within your activity main, this last line of code, app source compat, you would have to change that concert to whatever your new picture might be. So let's say you decided, hey, your favorite singer's Taylor Swift. You have a Taylor Swift.png. You would have to put it there. Whatever your name of your image is, would be after the @drawable. So you don't have to list the .png or the .jpg. It's just going to refer to that drawable folder. So drawable folder, @drawable. So if we went and changed this to, let's say, Bob, and then sync, and then ran our app, there's not going to be an image there because there is no image Bob. And it's not even letting us run because we have no image called Bob. And if we go back and name it concert, well, we have a concert image. So now it will run and should display effective. So if we were to find a picture let's say of Taylor Swift, we have to make sure that we have usage rights for it. Let's use this one. Seems simple enough. So if we just call it P Swift.
Wait, how did you check for usage rights?
If you go to, it should say tools
Common.
right here.
Yeah.
Click on tools, And then where it says next to time, Creative Commons license, you could do all, which will just show you all different pictures. Creative Commons license, which means you can basically use them freely. And commercial, which basically means you're using them to sell something.
Okay.
So I just picked a random T Swift picture here. And I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go into concert tickets, app, SRC for source, main, res, drawable. And then I paste that T Swift picture. If I go back in Android Studio, you'll now see in the drawable folder that tswift.jpg. So if I now change that drawable concert to T Swift and do file, sync project with Gradle files, and now I run the app, instead of that concert image, it will now show that T Swift image. And so the purpose of the using an image that either has a Creative Commons or commercial license is so that you have availability to use it. If you just have a regular image, so for example, somebody from CNN took this picture from the Chiefs games the other day. Somebody from NPR might have taken this picture, etc. So they would have the copyright for that image. So if you wanted to use it, you would either have to pay them, or they could technically send you like a cease and desist saying, oh, you can't use this. So that's why the usage rights options for searching within Google Images is there. So Creative Commons, you can use any of those available pictures. They're licensed for use in any creative capacity. Whereas the commercial, you can use those for any kind of promotional tool. So for example, if you had an app just like this one that sold tickets, you might want to use a commercial image instead. For example, Taylor Swift, the Era Tours. That's her current tour, I think. You might want to use that image instead of this generic image I have here, because you're trying to push sales for her concert in this specific example. So somebody might, okay, I'm going to select Taylor Swift just because that picture is there. And let's say 2 tickets. And then the cost for 2 tickets is just the $89.99 times 2. However, like I said, though, it's more common to have an image that represents every specific thing. So in the initial example, we just had 3 options. You might have an image that just had each of those 3 individuals pictured there as your selection. So that is all I had scheduled to go through today. So as a reminder, app number 2 will be due on Sunday. This is, as I mentioned, just the modification of that affirmations app we did a couple weeks ago, where instead of just the 10 affirmations, you're going to change it to be 10 facts about yourself and then match it with 10 pictures. And like I said, if you can't get it to load, we had that issue a couple weeks ago when we tried to load it, then instead of submitting a screenshot, just take an example of your image and just, let's say, a fact about yourself is, I like to eat ice cream. And you could just put that text and then have a picture of an ice cream below it. So I'll just create an image of an ice cream cone just to give you the excuse me, general idea. So that is in the instance that you can't get it to load in the emulator and just take a screenshot of it. When you submit, you're going to submit the updated strings.xml. And like I said, either a screenshot of it, it's probably just going to show 1 or 2 of your facts and an image based on the size of your image. Or you could just, in Microsoft Paint, type in that one text and put an image below it. And as I mentioned with the other assignments, let's see. So next week, homework assignment number 5. You just have 5 and 6 left for your homework assignments. And they're always just basic responses. So you're more than welcome to jump ahead and do 5 and 6 at your leisure. As I think I mentioned, I think Kesney already did all of them. So feel free to go ahead and do that as well. But again, app 2 will be due on Sunday night. So you're more than welcome to jump into doing that. And if there are no other questions, I will see all of you on Wednesday, and I'll post up the link to the recording of this in case you missed any of it, as I always do.
Sir, for assignment 4, do I email you because it said I can't turn in a late attempt?
Yeah, go ahead and email it to me, and I'll
Okay.
update your score.
All right. Have a good day.
Take care. Thank you.
Professor?
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to apologize for my lateness today. I had to go and take my grandmother to the doctor. But if
It's
anything,
okay.
I'm just gonna rewatch everything that you just posted up.
Yes. So basically, I just went through the first 2 examples just to show how, just like when we've seen in Java, there might be 2 different classes that work together to solve the same problem. And then the last example to show how to edit different options within strings to modify the display. So as I showed in the other 2 examples, Sometimes you have two different layouts, like one screen that opens and then this next screen that it goes to. Whereas in this last example, there's only one screen that we change everything within. So feel free to go back and watch all of that. And as always, email me with any questions.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.